This is Hayden Sparks. I am here with former state senator and gubernatorial contender Don Huffines. Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're certainly welcome. It's great to be on the Texan.
I imagine it's nostalgic for you to be here and reminiscing about your days in the Senate. But an issue that has been present in our political dialogue lately is border security. And as you reflect on your gubernatorial run, we had in this past month CBP report nearly 250,000 illegal immigrant apprehensions, which is a record-setting number, highest in history. What do you believe the state of Texas needs to do at this point to combat illegal immigration?
Well, as I've been saying a long time, if you think it's bad now, just wait a few months. It's going to get worse and worse every month. We have an open border. It's completely open. The federal government will never secure the border. They never have, and they never will. Even if the Republicans take over Congress again in Washington, do not think that border is going to be secure. Because we had the trifecta with Trump as president, and we had control of the House and the Senate, and the border was still porous. The only chance we have of saving Texas and the United States and securing the border is with a courageous governor of Texas. And it's simple. He has to initiate Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution and declare this an invasion. But he has to have the courage to follow through with it. It can't be just simply like he did before and he's going to do more safety inspections on the border. You have to have the guts and the courage to close it down, deport everyone that gets across that river immediately to the other side. You have to have the courage to engage all the military that the state has with a defined, clear mission, unlike the ambiguous situation we've got with totally low morale of our military. With the National Guard, I should say, because they don't have a clear, defined mission. All they're really doing is watching cameras, and they're away from their family and their jobs. It's a disaster right now. Abbott is a disaster leader for the state of Texas. He just is. He's not a real leader. He has to get military from the other states, from Oklahoma, Mississippi, Arkansas. He has to flood the border with state Guard members and ask for the federal government to cause a conundrum with the Constitution or a constitutional crisis. We'll take that fight. So Abbott should be willing to take that fight.
Yes, sir. You've outlined these policies and you've been an advocate for border security. But I want to talk about your role. You've started a new foundation and you're still speaking out on these issues. Tell us about your plan going forward for how you will continue to advocate for this, including with your foundation.
Well, thank you very much. I started, as you mentioned, a new group, and it's called the Huffines Liberty Foundation. It's a C3, a charitable organization, and it's to educate Texans about liberty and freedom, and to promote that, and also to help hold our elected officials accountable to liberty and freedom and to our party platform.
Well, I've talked earlier this week, I spoke with a lawmaker and some others about lessons that need to be imparted to Texas children, and you talked about educating the public on liberty. What do you think needs to be prioritized in classrooms and in homes across the Lone Star State to advance border security, beliefs in liberty and freedom?
The first thing we should do is get prayer back in the schools. When we got God out of our school system in 61, 62, we have educated now 2 generations of Texans without a strong foundation of morals. And we can't keep doing that. We've got to get prayer back in the schools. We got to get God back in the classroom. And I think that's first and foremost what we have to do to educate our children in the state of Texas. We have to give them a solid foundation of virtue. What is right, what's wrong. And it's not gray, it's very clear. If you want to educate them about the Constitution, that's great. I'm all for it. Western civilization, I'm all for it. But we got to remember, it's what's taught in the classroom that the state of Texas can control. We can, and we did. And when I was in the legislature, we passed legislation that require certain things to be taught. But it depends we're not in every classroom. It's ultimately the responsibility of the parents. And that's why I'm a champion for education freedom, or parental freedom, really school choice, where the money follows the child.
Senator, you're an accomplished businessman, and you've been fighting for these issues in the legislature and elsewhere. You represented North Texas. What do you think are some priorities locally that should be advanced in North Texas for the issues that you're raising?
I think education's very important. The border also affects North Texas. People always look to government to solve their problems. No matter what, generally, government's going to take care of that, or surely government's going to do something. No, that's not the role of government. The role of government is to always defend your fundamental liberties, your liberties that come from God. That's the fundamental role of government. It's not to look at government to solve all the problems, whether it's a city problem or anything else. There is a role for government, but government's role is to defend the individual's liberty that's enshrined in our Constitution. Our liberties come from God, of course. So if we can keep that awareness out there so that people don't always be asking for government for solutions, because government generally causes more problems. When I was in the legislature, one of the, not surprising, but things that people don't realize, the legislature spends about half their bills they pass and half the things they do fixing government on the previous legislation they had already passed. Oh, well, we didn't think of that. And, it just distorts the market. I'm a big champion, of course, of the free market, and I mean free and not market. And so there's the possibilities for prosperity in Texas are unlimited if we have a true free market.
And just to back up or look at it from a broader point of view, do you have hope as you look at the next generations that they will adopt your philosophy of limited government and looking toward family and church for solutions as opposed to state?
I definitely have hope. I think the variable in the equation to get to where we need to be is that we don't control the media. And we haven't ever. It's not controlling the media, it's just having a fair media. And when, for instance, in 99 out of the top 100 newspapers in the United States by subscribers all endorse Hillary Clinton, we got a problem. And it's continuing, and it's worse and worse. It's really polarizing society. If we find government corruption, which there's a whole lot of it, for instance, just something very practical of bureaucrats actually stealing money. I've got 6 people put in prison when I was as a Texas senator. But without the media, no one cares. No one's going to know about it. And there's a lot of government corruption going on, and the media just ignores it, for instance, or the media ignores our liberty messages, because we have the answers and the solutions to most of the issues that affect Texas, and they're being decided today and tomorrow here at the Republican Convention.
Well, Senator, our time is too short, but it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for coming here today and doing an interview. We appreciate it.
You're certainly welcome.